Are you tired of staring at thick grammar books and still feeling completely stuck when you try to speak English?
I know exactly how that feels. But what if we told you that the real secret to speaking fluently isn't studying harder?
It actually just listening and understanding. Welcome, everyone. Today we are talking about comprehensible input. It is the absolute easiest, most natural way to learn English.
It honestly changed everything for my learning journey. When I started, I used to memorize long vocabulary lists for hours, which was so frustrating. But then I discovered this method.
And we are going to break down exactly how to do it today. Oh, by the way, David, reminding me of those vocabulary lists, I actually remembered a very simple trick that makes sure you never forget a new word once you hear it. I will share that rule with you a bit later in the show.
Oh, I definitely want to hear that. So let's start from the very beginning, Emma. What exactly does comprehensible input mean?
To put it simply, David, comprehensible means something you can easily understand. So, comprehensible input is listening to or reading English that is just slightly above your current level. You understand the main message or the story, even if you do not know every single word.
Exactly. You understand the situation from the context. But you know, Emma, I used to make a huge mistake with this when I first started learning.
Really? What did you do?
I laughed slightly at myself. I thought input meant I had to listen to the hardest English possible. I used to turn on the financial news or watch complex science documentaries without subtitles. I understood maybe 10% of it. I just got a headache and almost gave up.
Oh, David, that is such a common mistake. So many learners think that struggling and feeling confused means they are learning. But if you only understand 10%, it is not comprehensible anymore. It is just noise.
That's right. It was just noise to me. That is why the word comprehensible is the most important part of this method. Actually, this is a great advanced word for our listeners to learn right now. Everyone listening, try saying it with us out loud. Say, comprehensible.
Great job. It is a long word, but it just means understandable. If you choose a podcast, a story, or a video, you should be able to understand about 70 to 80% of what they are saying naturally.
That 80% rule is perfect. Because if you understand 80%, your brain will naturally guess the other 20% from the context. You learn the new words like a baby learns their first language, naturally, without translating them in your head.
Yes, and that is exactly how you stop translating in your head before you speak. When you stop focusing on strict grammar rules and just enjoy the message, your brain does all the hard work for you.
It is so much less stressful. But, Emma, a lot of people might wonder, if they are throwing away their textbooks, where can they actually find the right comprehensible input for their specific level?
That is a brilliant question, David. The internet is full of resources, but you have to know where to look. One of the best places to start is with graded readers.
Oh, graded readers. I use those all the time. Can you explain what they are for the listeners?
Of course, graded readers are special books written specifically for English learners. They use simpler grammar and vocabulary. So instead of reading a confusing, thick novel, you read a great story that is matched perfectly to your current level.
Yes, I remember reading a mystery story at a level 2. I felt so proud because I actually finished a whole book in English without opening a dictionary once. It gave me so much confidence.
Confidence is huge. Building that confidence is exactly why this method works. Another great resource is actually right here on YouTube or on podcast platforms. You want to look for creators who speak slightly slower and use clear pronunciation, just like we try to do here.
That's right. But what about movies or TV shows, Emma? A lot of people want to watch popular shows on Netflix to learn.
TV shows are wonderful, but they can be a trap for beginners. Native speakers talk very fast, talk over each other, and use a lot of complex slang. If you want to watch TV, I actually recommend starting with animated movies or children's shows.
I know it sounds funny to watch cartoons as an adult, but the language is so clear, and the characters physically point to objects while they talk about them. It is perfect, easy to understand input.
Exactly. There is absolutely no shame in it. Actually, let's do a quick check in with everyone watching right now. We want to know, what is your favorite way to practice listening? Do you prefer podcasts, animated movies, or YouTube videos?
Yeah, tell us. Pause this video for just a second and write your favorite way to listen in the comments below. We read every single one, and it might help another learner find a good idea.
Thank you for sharing. Now, once you find your graded readers or your favorite podcast, how long do you actually need to listen every day to see results?
That is the golden question, Emma. When I first started with comprehensible input, I actually thought I had to listen for 3 or 4 hours every single day to get fluent quickly.
4 hours? Wow, that is a lot of time for a busy person. Did you actually do it?
Only for about a week. Then I became completely exhausted and stopped listening entirely. It was way too much pressure.
And that is exactly what we want to avoid. You do not need to study for hours and hours to see results. The real secret is consistency. It is much better to listen for 20 minutes every single day than to listen for 3 hours once a week.
I completely agree. Consistency means doing it regularly, without stopping. That is actually a fantastic phrase for our listeners to remember. Let's practice it together. Say out loud, consistency is key.
Beautiful. Consistency is key. It means it is the most important part of your success. If you can commit to just 20 or 30 minutes a day, you will see a massive improvement in a few months.
And the best part is, you do not even need to find new time in your schedule to do this. You can just use your dead time.
Dead time? That sounds a little scary. Can you explain what you mean by that for our learners?
Sure. Dead time is simply the time during your day when your hands are busy, but your brain is free. For example, when you are washing the dishes, walking the dog, or driving to work.
Oh, that is perfect. So instead of sitting quietly on the train, you just put on your headphones and listen to your English story. You are turning boring chores into a language lesson without any extra effort.
Correct. I used to listen to a 30-minute English podcast every single morning while I was cleaning my apartment. My apartment was spotless, and my English listening skills improved incredibly fast.
That is such a smart strategy, David. But it does make me wonder about something important. If someone is washing dishes or driving, they might not be giving the podcast 100% of their attention. Is it still working if they are only half listening?
That is the beauty of it, Emma. Even if you are only half listening while washing the dishes, your brain is still absorbing the rhythm and the sounds of the language.
Oh, I see. So we are talking about the difference between active listening and passive listening.
That's right. When you sit down in a quiet room and focus completely on a video or a story, that is active listening. But when you are driving and just playing a podcast in the background, that is passive.
Both are incredibly useful. Passive listening helps you get comfortable with the natural melody of English. It makes the language feel normal to you, so it does not sound strange or foreign anymore.
Yes, and it helps so much with pronunciation. You start to hear how native speakers naturally link words together, even if you are not actively trying to memorize anything.
But, of course, if you want to improve faster, you should try to have at least one short session of active listening every day, even just 10 minutes where you are really paying attention to the message.
10 minutes of full focus is so much better than 0. And here is a great tip for active listening. Try to visualize the story in your head.
Visualize? You mean like making a movie in your mind?
Spot on. Do not translate the English words into your native language. Just imagine the pictures. If the story says a big red apple, do not think of the word for apple in your language. Just see a big red apple in your mind.
That is a very powerful tool. It connects the English word directly to an image. That is how you train your brain to think in English.
It really is. But I have to admit, that was the hardest habit for me to break. When I was doing my active listening, I always wanted to pause the podcast and look up every single unknown word in my dictionary.
Oh, the dictionary trap. I see so many students do this. It slows everything down. Let's talk about why using a dictionary all the time can actually ruin the comprehensible input method. When you stop a podcast or a video every 2 minutes to look up a word, you completely break the flow of the story.
Exactly. You stop listening to English and you start reading definitions. It becomes a stressful vocabulary test instead of an enjoyable story.
And remember, the main goal of this method is to guess the meaning from the context. If you use a dictionary immediately, you do not let your brain do the guessing. You are actually taking away the natural learning process.
That makes so much sense now. When I finally threw my dictionary away, I felt lost for a few days. But then something amazing happened. I started understanding words just by how the characters acted or the tone of their voice.
Yes, that is your brain making natural connections. Now, I am not saying dictionaries are evil. They are definitely useful tools if you use them correctly.
Right. So when should a learner actually use a dictionary, Emma?
I have a simple rule. If a word appears 3 times in the same story and you still cannot guess what it means, and it stops you from understanding the main message, then you can look it up.
The rule of 3. I love that. It gives you a chance to figure it out yourself first. Let's make sure everyone remembers this important habit. Say it with me out loud. Guess first, look up later.
Excellent. Guess first, look up later. If you follow this rule, you will enjoy reading and listening so much more. You will not feel like you are studying at all.
Enjoyment is definitely the key. Because if you are bored, you will quit. But Emma, sometimes it is hard to find things that are fun, but also easy enough to understand. What should a learner do if they get bored with their input?
That is a very real problem, David. If you get bored, you have to change the topic immediately. Do not force yourself to read a boring history book if you actually love cooking.
That is exactly what I did. I tried to read classic literature because I thought it was good for my English. I fell asleep after just 2 pages.
We have all been there. The trick is to match your English input with your real-life hobbies. If you love playing video games, watch YouTube gamers who speak English. If you love sports, listen to sports podcasts.
That makes so much sense. When I started watching technology reviews in English, I learned so many new words without even trying because I already loved the topic.
Exactly. Your passion for the topic actually makes the English easier to understand. You already know the context, so your brain guesses the new words much faster.
So let's say I find a really great video about technology and I love it. Should I watch it just once, or is it helpful to watch the exact same video again?
Oh, repetition is incredibly powerful. Watching or listening to the same thing multiple times is one of the best things you can do. Every time you listen, you catch a new word or a new sound that you missed the first time.
I noticed that too. The first time, I usually focus on the main story. The second time, I start noticing how the speaker pronounces the words and how they build their sentences.
We call this narrow listening. Narrow is the opposite of wide. It means focusing deeply on one specific thing or one specific topic. It is a great word. Let's practice saying it together. Say it out loud. Narrow. Great job. Narrow listening means you listen to the same podcast or the same topic over and over until you feel completely comfortable with it.
I love that. It takes away the pressure of always finding something new. But Emma, what about speaking? We have talked a lot about listening and reading, but the main goal for most people is to actually talk to others.
That is true. A lot of learners feel frustrated because they listen for months, but they still feel nervous when they open their mouths to speak. Let's talk about how comprehensible input actually prepares you for real conversations.
I completely understand that frustration. You feel like your head is full of words, but your mouth just cannot find them.
That's right. And that happens because speaking and listening are two different skills. But here is the secret. Comprehensible input builds the foundation for speaking. You cannot build a house without a strong foundation, right?
Right. If you do not have enough input, you have nothing to output. When I finally started speaking, I noticed that whole phrases just popped into my head automatically.
Yes, that is the magic of this method. Because you listened to so many natural conversations, you did not have to think about grammar rules. You just knew what sounded right.
It is true. I did not have to remember if I needed to use the past simple or the present perfect. I just naturally said, I have been there, instead of I was there, because I had heard it 100 times before.
That is exactly how native speakers learn their own language. We do not learn grammar rules when we are babies. We just listen to our parents for a year or two before we even say our first word.
That silent period is so important. So, for our learners listening right now, do not panic if you are not ready to speak yet. Your brain is still working hard, even when you are silent.
Beautifully said, David. Your silent period is just your preparation time. But when a learner finally does want to start speaking, what is the best way to practice without getting too nervous?
One of my favorite techniques is something called shadowing. It connects the listening directly to the speaking.
Shadowing? Like following someone like a shadow?
Correct. It is a fantastic exercise, and anyone can do it alone in their room. Let me explain exactly how shadowing works. To start shadowing, you just need a short audio clip, maybe 10 or 20 seconds long, and the written text for it.
Okay, so you need the audio and the transcript. What is the very first step?
First, you just listen to the audio a few times to understand the meaning. Then, you play the audio again and you speak out loud at the exact same time as the speaker.
At the exact same time? Like an echo?
Yes, like a shadow. You try to copy their voice, their rhythm, and even their emotion. You do not just read the words, you act them out.
That is brilliant. It forces your mouth to get used to the physical feeling of English words. It trains your muscles without you even realizing it.
That's right. It trains your speaking muscles. And because you are copying a native speaker, your pronunciation improves naturally, without studying boring phonetics.
Let's actually do a tiny shadowing practice right now. Listeners, I am going to say a short sentence. Then I will say it again, and I want you to say it with me at the exact same time. Ready? First, just listen. I am learning English naturally.
Okay, now say it with Emma. Ready? Go.
I am learning English naturally.
Fantastic. If you do that for just 5 minutes a day with your favorite podcast, your speaking will become so much smoother.
It really will. Now, David, we have talked about listening, reading, and even speaking. But right at the beginning of the show, I promised to share a simple trick to make sure you never forget a new vocabulary word once you learn it.
Yes, I have been waiting for this. Memorizing vocabulary used to be my biggest struggle. How do we lock these new words into our memory forever?
The absolute best way to lock them in forever is to immediately use the new word to describe your own life.
My own life? What do you mean by that?
Let's say you just learned the word exhausted. which means very tired. Do not just write down the definition. Write a sentence about a real time you felt exhausted. For example, I was exhausted after running in the park yesterday.
Oh, wow. Because it is a real memory, your brain actually cares about it. It is not just a random word on a piece of paper anymore.
Exactly. When you connect English to your real emotions and memories, it sticks in your brain forever. That is the secret vocabulary trick I promised you at the beginning of the show.
That is brilliant and so simple. Now, Emma, before we say goodbye, I think we should test our listeners to see if they were actively listening to us today.
I love that idea. It is time for a quick mini quiz. Earlier in the show, we talked about when you should finally use a dictionary. We called it the rule of what number?
If you know the answer, write the number in the comments right now. We will give a heart to everyone who gets it right.
Thank you all so much for spending your time with us today. Remember, do not stress about grammar. Just find a topic you love and let the language come to you naturally.
Yes, enjoy the journey. And before you go, we have one final question for you. What is one hobby you absolutely love that you can start watching English videos about today? Tell us in the comments.
See you next time, learners. Keep listening.